Hello and welcome to another episode of Avengers Fast-Play. I am your host, CarrotBoy3000, and today we are playing a hive. We are playing a forest hive starring the mighty Jane Foster. It is Sunday, August 7th, I believe. I hope you're all having a wonderful Sunday. And I thought it would be nice to do a hive. We haven't done a hive on the channel yet, during Fast Play at least. And I thought it would be nice. Like I said, I hope you're having a good Sunday. Today is, what do you call it? This Sunday, every Sunday I have this tradition, and people know about this, and maybe not tradition, but I have this outstanding meeting, I guess, this hangout session I do with a friend of mine, where him and I, we watch One Piece together on Discord. And so every Sunday and every Wednesday, if we are able to, we just watch some One Piece together. And back in the day, we used to do it in person. It used to be before... Oh my gosh, this is so funny. I wanted to talk about D&D today for this hive, which is why I chose like a longer mission to talk about this, because I got some D&D things to talk about. But back in the day, this friend of mine was a member, like I DM'd, right? I was the dungeon master, the game master, and they were one of the players, one of like 5 players that we had. This is before COVID. And he would be the earliest to arrive, and so he would show up, and we would play Mario Maker together, and we'd watch One Piece together. He was a big One Piece fan, and so he wanted me to watch it, and that was how we started. And I didn't want to watch it without him, because I was like, hey, this is our show together. Like, we're having fun with this. Unfortunately, when the pandemic came, for whatever reason, we didn't like link up. It's so crazy. It's because like time moved so differently during the pandemic. Like, it doesn't feel like it's been 2 years. You know, when that happened, I just kind of like, we still stayed in contact, but we didn't really watch One Piece together. And then I moved in January, and I was like, oh man, I got to keep in contact with my friends. You know, me and my friends should watch One Piece together. And it's like, I always had that option open to me. So I don't know why I felt like I didn't. Before we get into anything, you know what time it is. Well, let me just make sure that today is the day that I think it is. It is Sunday the 7th, which is National Sea Serpent Day. Also, first of all, what? We have a national day for fictional creatures? It's also a bunch of other things, but National Sea Serpent Day is the first thing to come up. Kind of fitting for One Piece, honestly. If you know what One Piece is, you know that it's all about the sea and pirates, and it does feature a lot of sea serpents. It's got a lot of sea serpents in it, even though it's not necessarily about sea serpents, you know. But yeah, so we have every week we watch One Piece together on Discord, either on Sunday or on Wednesday, sometimes both, and it's nice. It's cool, and it just goes to show, you know, you can chill with your homies even if you're very far apart, you know. So yeah. And One Piece has been great, honestly. I've had such a great time watching One Piece. I'm a big anime fan. Y'all know this. I made an anime video recently, and I really do love it, and I consider it very close to superhero stuff. You know what I mean? I am typically into other anime. I've never watched One Piece, but well, that's not true. I watched One Piece when I was younger, but I haven't like really watched it. It's like it's an anime with over 1,000 episodes, over 1,000 chapters, like you know, in the manga. Like, it's a long run. But that being said, it's I watched it when I was younger. When I watched like maybe the first like 20 episodes, not even. Like, I watched it in syndication on 4Kids TV, right? That dub, which ruined One Piece for a lot of people. And I never really got into it the way like most One Piece fans are into it, where it's like taking it really seriously, not looking at it as just this like nostalgic kids show, you know. And it's been nice kind of watching it and experiencing it. It's genuinely really good. It's genuinely really fun. It's just an adventure, you know. It's this big sea adventure, and I'm here for it. I've been having a great time with it. It's weird though, because people who love it like will call it the best anime ever, and like it's better than everything else. And I've said to people before, like, yeah, I like it a lot. It's good. I just, you know, I prefer other stuff. And they get really upset with me. And they're like, you just haven't watched enough One Piece. And I'm like, I've watched over 100 episodes. Now I've watched over 200 episodes. And they're like, that's not enough. And it's like, you know, some anime don't even have that many episodes, right? Like, I feel like after 100 episodes, One Piece has been given a chance, you know? And I'm not even saying it's bad. I'm saying I like it. It's just not, like, the best anime I've ever seen. Things don't need to be the best thing you've ever seen just to enjoy them, you know? You can just like something regardless of if it's good or bad. But yeah, so that's our weekly One Piece thing. Home of Sea Serpents, and former D&D buddy. The reason why I bring up D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, if you don't know, it's a tabletop role-playing game where one player kind of leads the adventure and provides the rules for the world, and the rest of the players navigate this kind of invisible world. Really fun game, really built around role-playing outside of, you know, video games. And I had a campaign way back in the day that ran for years. It ran from like 2017, maybe 2018. I'm pretty sure it was 2017 though. I'm pretty sure we did 2017 all the way to 2019. Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, I think we did do 3 years of that. And it was this world that I created. It had these 4 or 5 nations. I can't remember it off the top of my head. And the plot took place in this one nation. We had like 5 players. Let me think. Yeah, we had 5 players, and we had like rotating people. Like I had one friend who left early. I had another friend who came in, who eventually became our roommate. You know, so we had a pretty fun. Oh, it's so sad. One of the players who was in our group, she was a Dragonborn, and she eventually moved in with us. And again, it's just so weird to think about. She moved in with us right before COVID started, so basically she never got to live in our apartment and like host D&D because we lived when she moved into our apartment. It was just before COVID. It was like 2 months before COVID. So all of my previous roommates' experience with living with me and my now wife like was living in COVID. It's so bizarre. Anyway, you know, I created this whole world, and you know, it's something that I've wanted to return to for a while. It does get a little stressful, you know, planning stuff, especially when I'm like working on other. Wow! Stop! Oh my gosh! So right there, I was trying to trigger my ultimate because I had it, and then I guess I just got hit so hard that it disappeared. I don't know how that happened, but whatever. Oh my gosh! I don't even need it. Yeah, it just gets a little stressful, like planning stuff out. It's a lot to plan sometimes from the dungeon master perspective. From a player perspective, you don't have as much to plan. You know what I mean? You just kind of go in, have fun, and leave. If you don't know, on Synchro Champ's channel, his YouTube channel, myself and a bunch of other awesome Avengers content creators and friends of mine play Marvel D&D in a world that he created, and that's kind of given me the confidence again to consider. Hold on. I'm missing my hammer. It appeared. You saw that, though. I was missing my hammer. That was crazy. I think I've heard of that bug for Jane, but I've never seen it before. That scared me. Yeah, it's kind of given me the confidence to start thinking about D&D again. And so, think about it. I have. I've been kind of planning a continuation of the previous campaign, because now I'm living close to what it is one of our older players was my brother-in-law, and when he moved, he had to leave the campaign, and it was very sad. We had an emotional goodbye, and then what's it called? Now we've moved close to him, and his wife, and so me and my wife are like, hey, we should all play D&D again. We should have a regular outstanding night. And I'm like, yeah, that might be a fun idea. And so, you know, kind of taking the 2 players, my wife and her brother, you know, taking those 2 players and returning to their world, you know, potentially continuing the stories of their characters, but just returning to a world that's familiar to them is kind of interesting. And so right now I'm kind of planning a time skip. Because again, we were playing from 2017 to 2019, and then we stopped because of COVID. And so I was like, what if we do this 5-year, or 5-decade, I think it is, not even 5 years, 5-decade time gap. You know what I mean? I think that could be really fun. Come on. Whoa. Can't believe I lost my hammer earlier. So that's what I've been working on. I changed the terrain. There's like some kind of magical force that tore up the you know, the earth beneath everybody's feet, and now has created this new man-made island that the, you know, the new game world kind of takes place in. I feel like I was a little too complicated back in the day with my D&D, and so I kind of want to rein it in. That was a weird thing that just happened. And so I'm trying to like limit, like, you know, you can't go to another country, you have to stay on this area, but you can still do whatever you want within this realm, you know what I mean? And yeah, just planning that has been kind of interesting to me for so far. How dare you gain your health back? And I hope it goes well. I think right now we're looking at the start of September as the first return, and I just hope that I, you know, have fun. Like, so again, D&D is just always fun. I highly recommend I highly recommend that people check it out if they're interested. If you're into tabletop stuff, if you're into fantasy, if you're into adventure or just being creative, there's so much to it. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed by the numbers aspect. It's not just numbers. You know, there's a lot of imagination to the game that has nothing to do with stats and numbers. You definitely can have a fun time, you know, without needing to have an optimal build or something silly like that. You know what I mean? It's about having fun. That's the general idea of Dungeons and Dragons, is having fun. Great water. I'm trying to look. Oh, I see it. Okay. I was trying to look. I drew up a new map. I'm working on my first town. If you have a name suggestion for the first town, by all means, feel free. Again, I want to reel it back. I feel like in my last campaign, even though I did it over 3 years, I played too much of the long game. You know what I mean? I was introducing too many... Hey, okay, you know what? You guys have lost the privilege of the mighty Thor. I feel like I was playing the long game too much with my previous D&D campaign. I was setting up too many plot threads. I needed to just stick to, if not one thing, concise things. It was too loose, you know? It's one of those things, like something that I've tried to kind of remind myself of in recent years is just because it's obvious to you doesn't mean it's obvious to everybody. Assume that whatever is simple to you is really difficult to others. Because if you think something is too easy, it's probably because you are the one that is creating it. I feel this way about Mario Maker levels. I feel this way about, like, puzzles. Like, if you think it's too easy, just remember that you think that because you know the answer already, you know? And I think there's an element of solving puzzles and you know, defeating enemies and stuff like that. There's an element to experiencing games like that require that being a genius feels nice, you know, and making your players feel like they're very smart for figuring something out is important, because it really adds to their enjoyment of the experience. Obviously, don't just give it to them, but don't make it obnoxiously hard, I don't think. You know what I mean? Remember, you're trying to make a good time for them, not make the hardest thing ever, in my opinion. So I think I did a little bit too much of, like, you know, there were 5 different, you know, godlike creatures, and I'm not going to explain that to the player, and they're going to, you know, these players are playing, you know, with weeks in between each other, or 1 week in between each other. It's hard for them to keep it in mind, and I'm the one who's keeping everything together. Like, I remember everything. Like, it's just a very different disconnect. So it's better to spell things out more so for an enjoyable, memorable time, rather than a subtle, difficult challenge, you know? Sometimes subtlety can be kind of lost when it comes to a campaign like that. So I'm trying to stay more focused while still doing the things that I like, because I like doing that cryptic stuff, you know what I mean? I like having those little details there that, if for nothing else, they're just for me, you know what I mean? But I want to prioritize my players having fun and make sure that that in the end they're solving mysteries that make them feel powerful and important and smart, you know? I think that's a big part of the puzzle. So I'm excited to start doing that. Again, I'm working on it right now. we're probably going to meet at the beginning of September, and it's going to be a continuation after like a 5-decade gap from my original story, which is really fun. I'm excited to conclude plot points that I created in that original story and to kind of recontextualize it in a way that maybe is built better for the player, you know? So that's what I'm up to, and that's what I'm excited about. And I recommend it. I love tabletop stuff, and it's really fun playing with Synchro and the homies, Marvel D&D, and it's just inspired me tremendously to start, you know, getting back into my own D&D. Again, the key is just not to burn myself out. I'm very susceptible to burnout on everything, you know what I mean? I'm a depressed little boy. Like, I'm very, very depressed at all times. I'm very easily overwhelmed. And so I try to be as conscious of that as I can. Even if I love something, I can really burn myself out on it. And so content, D&D, my favorite video game, my favorite movie, sometimes I get overwhelmed by that stuff and I end up hating it, and I'm trying to convince myself not to, you know? But One Piece is good. I love One Piece. Best anime ever? Not for me. But for somebody else it is, and that's wonderful. That makes me very happy. That for somebody else, One Piece is the one, you know? Who else wants this? Is this the only one left? Anybody else? Ooh. Okay. Something that I love doing is coming up with little notes for my D&D campaign, like little handwritten notes that are like from a mysterious person or a dangerous person or like a society. In my old campaign, I came up with like a whole train schedule, and I was like, you know, if you want to, you know, be able to travel between these two locations, you need to be here on the right day. I created a whole calendar. I forgot all about that. I created a calendar with my own days. I think it was a 6-day week. And there were 4 months out of the year. Like, I went way deeper than I needed to. And again, I loved that, and I had a lot of fun, but it severely burned me out. And I felt like I wasn't doing good if I wasn't doing that level of work, which just isn't true, you know? Sometimes people are just having fun exploring the forest, you know what I mean? Sometimes, and oftentimes, the most memorable things in a D&D campaign are the things you don't plan for, and so that's what I have to, you know, embrace a little bit more. But Sea Serpent Day, I'm a little bummed that I chose today to talk about D&D and stuff like that, because Sea Serpent Day, I love sea serpents. I love the Loch Ness Monster. I love Champy. I love Georgie. All the other sea monsters are awesome, and the fact that they have their own day is pretty dope. I didn't know that sea serpents had a day to speak of, but I'm definitely in solidarity of the Sea Serpent Day. I love cryptids and like cryptozoological creatures that shouldn't exist but do. That stuff is really interesting to me. So maybe another day we'll talk about sea serpents. But today I needed to talk about One Piece and D&D. Anyway, everyone, that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and to subscribe to this channel for more. As a reminder, this is my second YouTube channel, Raw Carrot Scraps. My main YouTube channel is Carrot Scraps, and I post my more edited videos there. This is a more, you know, Raw Carrot Scraps is a more loose, it's more, you know, relaxed, it's more free, you know what I mean? Whereas the other channel is more edited. And then I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/carrotscraps. So if you enjoyed, you know, check out any of that other stuff. Anyway, happy holidays, happy International Sea Serpent Day this August 7th. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you soon.